Hey guys, welcome to the Destructoid Show. My name is Max Scoville, and I'm here with our Twisted Metal video review. Now, pretty much anyone who's grown up around a PlayStation should be at least familiar with the title Twisted Metal. In addition to spawning the entire vehicular combat genre, it's also the system's longest-running exclusive franchise. The first Twisted Metal debuted in 1995 and spawned 3 sequels on the PlayStation 1. Twisted Metal Black hit the PlayStation 2 in 2001 to extremely high praise, and aside from a port of the PSP game Twisted Metal Head-On, Black was the last big console release in the series, and that was over a decade ago. The latest release, simply titled Twisted Metal, is supposedly a return to form for the franchise and a resurrection of the vehicular combat genre. Now, full disclosure, I've never been a hardcore Twisted Metal fan. I respect the franchise and I've played it here and there, but I'm nowhere near as dedicated to the series as some fans are. That being said, I have been eagerly awaiting this release. When David Jaffe unveiled the multiplayer nuke mode at E3 2010, my exact words were, "It looks like someone fed an 8-year-old a bag of meth, asked him what he wanted for Christmas, and then took notes." Now, the game is here, and I've given my inner 8-year-old meth head some time with it. How does it stack up? Well, let's start with the campaign mode. It's a game in which ice cream trucks and muscle cars drive around shooting missiles at each other. So if you're looking for a serious plot, you really shouldn't have high hopes because it definitely puts gameplay first. Basically, this guy Calypso holds a demolition derby every so often, and the winner gets to have their one wish granted. Every character has a different reason for wanting to enter the contest. Sweet Tooth, for instance, who's arguably the fan-favorite character, is a clown who is also a serial killer. The wish he wants granted is to find the one victim who escaped from him so that he can kill her. Sort of a weird obsession, but whatever. There are other things that make much less sense about his character, such as how is his hair constantly on fire, or why is he so fixated on stabbing his victims when he has a missile-launching ice cream truck that turns into a robot? 15 years ago, there was less pressure for games to have a plot. You'd get a couple blocks of text on a loading screen and a cutscene or two, and Twisted Metal is very clearly a game from that era. Players are treated to some embarrassingly badly written intro and ending cutscenes.
Just more trash on the side of the road.
And the rest of the story unfolds via voiceover dialogue. Basically, don't get your hopes up. This is, after all, a game about cars with guns on them. Now, graphically, Twisted Metal is pretty average for a modern PS3 game. It looks totally fine, but at no point did I jump out of my seat in awe of the visuals. The vehicles look like the bastard offspring of Mad Max cars, BattleBots, and carnival rides, and the environments are big, destructible, and full of little details, but this is, after all, a game about going fast and blowing shit up, so you might not have time to stop and look too closely. Now, as for gameplay, quite bluntly, it feels dated. Jumping into this game after playing any other game from the last 5 years that has vehicles in it, let alone games dedicated exclusively to vehicles, it feels overly complicated and clumsy. The gameplay is pretty simple. You're a vehicle and you're going to try to destroy the other vehicles. The primary objective is to eliminate all the opponents by racing around the level, picking up weapons and power-ups. There are 4 different campaigns, each one based around a different character, and each one features a racing level and a boss fight among the other demolition derby-themed missions. Now, as you progress through the game, there will be some hazards thrown your way. You get booby traps and lava and stuff like that. And in some cases, you'll be forced to race from one area to another within a time limit, sort of staying within a cage, or else you'll take damage. Now, the racing levels are really odd addition since the game's vehicles have been designed and optimized more for combat and maneuverability in smaller areas, so trying to race with them over long range doesn't really work so great. The boss fights sound more enjoyable than they actually are. Sweet Tooth, for instance, has you going up against 2 monster trucks. After destroying the first one, the second covers itself in armor plating, and you're forced to drive underneath it long enough for one of your guys to climb underneath under the chassis to plant some C4. After doing that, you've got to drive underneath the truck long enough to retrieve your friend, and of course, if you fail enough times, Sweet Tooth just says fuck it and blows up the truck with his friend on board. Twisted Metal is a game that aims to provide lots of carnage and excitement and is effectively a shooter but with vehicles. At times it delivers, and at other times the pacing is a bit tedious. Fans of twitch shooters who are used to racking up kills really quickly might get impatient with how difficult it can be to kill a car. This is definitely a game that puts endurance and tenacity over accuracy and instant gratification, and it really does take a while to wear down your opponents. You spend a lot of time just sort of racing around. Now obviously, the big emphasis on Twisted Metal is multiplayer. Online, local and split screen, co-op and competitive, it seems like the game really has its bases covered. Unfortunately, the multiplayer servers aren't currently up, so I didn't get a chance with that, and the game's online pass was snatched up by my colleague Anthony Carboni, who is reviewing the game for his show, New Challenger. We did, however, have some time to play a little split-screen co-op and deathmatch, which is effectively the same as single-player, except with the added human element. And it does improve the experience quite a bit. Playing against people is more fun than playing against bots. Overall, you know how traveling back in time to the Middle Ages seems like a really cool idea in movies, but in reality everybody would be smelly and stupid and disease-ridden? Well, this game gave me a similar realization, except in regards to video games from the late 90s. The plot is like something out of Insane Clown Posse liner notes, and the gameplay isn't nearly as fast and loud as we've become accustomed to in recent games. Overall, I think hardcore Twisted Metal fans will be really happy with this game, but anyone hoping to see an updated take on an old franchise will probably be a bit disappointed. The game definitely packs enough content to give players their money's worth of fun, but that's only assuming they find the game fun to begin with. Personally, the next time I am lusting after ridiculous vehicles going stupidly fast and making each other explode, I would sooner pick up MotorStorm or Saints Row. Now, be sure to check out New Challenger's full review over on youtube.com/newchallenger and Destructoid.com's legitimate Jim Sterling official review with a score at the end over on Destructoid.com. As for me, those were my thoughts, and we'll see you guys next time.